Alright, welcome back. This is the video for CL1-2 where we'll be modifying and adding the exterior and interior walls. So I already have CL1-1 open, so I'm going to do one final save just to make sure I've saved everything. And then I'm going to do another save, this time with Save As, Project. Make sure you hit Project, not Template. And then we're going to call this one CL1-2. And then you may also notice there's a backup file that gets created. So this is an automatic process. So you'll have up to 3 backups at one time being saved. So this just takes the most recent backup. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit save again. So now I have saved CL1-1, and then I have another file CL1-2 where I'll continue. So by doing this, if I mess up on CL1-2, I can always go back to CL1-1 and start over again. And this way we don't have to do all of the project all over again. And then it's also a good idea to create backups of your files as you're progressing through the project. Okay, so let's go to the first floor view. So now we have our grid set up, elevation markers in the right place, level markers in the right place. So now we're ready to start adding our exterior walls. So we're going to start with a brand new wall style called exterior concrete on metal stud. So we'll start with a generic 8-inch wall. So I'm going to click on wall here. And then I already have the generic 8-inch up. I'm going to click on edit type. And then I'm going to duplicate, not rename, because I want to keep that for other walls if I need it. And then we'll call this one exterior. Be nice if I turned off my caps lock. Concrete on metal. I'll abbreviate metal, and then stud. Good. And then to start modifying the structure, I'll just click on the edit button next to structure. And then I'll go ahead and open up the preview and set this to section. So now we can see a section view of the wall. And then in the book they have a setup for the assembly. So here's our core boundary. So we'll go ahead and keep that where it's at, but then I'm going to change the material to concrete cast in place. So let's wait for this to open up. This is actually tying into the material browser. So an easy way to get to the material is just to go to concrete, and then we'll use concrete cast in place gray. But if you want to match up exactly what's listed in the book, we'll just duplicate this. So this gives us another placeholder for the material. So we'll just call this one concrete cast in place concrete. Another thing you can do, if you don't find the material here, you can open up this other panel which gives you the materials that are not preloaded with the project. And then you can click on concrete here and then scroll down. Let me flip that around here. There we go. So you can also scroll down and see if you can find it here. So we'll go down. They have a lot of concrete material, by the way. So concrete cast in place, and of course they have the gray that we just used. So they don't even have our material that we created ourselves. So we're just going to go ahead and stick with this. And we're going to have to change the properties of this later, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. So I'm going to hit the OK button. And then we'll keep the thickness at 8, and it is a structural material, so we're going to keep that box checked, and then we'll go ahead and insert another row and move it down. This one will be our membrane layer. So we're going back into the material browser, and we'll just type in vapor retarder. And in the example it has vapor / moisture barriers damp proof. So we don't have that material loaded. So I'm just going to stick with vapor retarder for now. But this is a help in that when you set up these walls, what you'll do is you'll refer to the listing of materials when you do your notes. It doesn't do it automatically, at least not yet, but at least you have a record of what materials are making up the wall. So we're going to do our next one as a substrate layer, and this one will be metal furring. And there is a level or material already preloaded. And we'll set that one to this thickness, which is 7/8 of an inch. And then finally, we'll insert our last one. Make sure they're all in the right order. This one will be our finish layer, so I'll stick with finish 2. And this will be gypsum wallboard. There we go. It's already loaded with the project, so I'm going to hit OK. And then we'll give that a thickness of 5/8. So this should give us a total thickness of 9.5, which it does. So now we'll go ahead and hit the OK button again. And that'll take us out of the that is assembly dialog and put us into type properties. And then we'll click one more time to hit OK and end the process. So that gives us our new wall type. So now what we want to do is add the exterior walls to the drawing. We're going to go in a clockwise direction. So I'll start here at the top left corner of my building. And then I also want to check for my constraints. So while we're on the subject here, let's go ahead and set the top constraint to top of wall. So that'll give us the correct wall height at 18 feet. So this way, if I change the top level or top of wall level, it will change the walls automatically. And then our base constraint for right now is set to first floor. So I'll start here. Oh, and also, before I go any further, I need to make sure that I have this set to finish face exterior. Okay. So now I think I'm ready to add walls. So now I'll work my way around the building. This is my shape. And then it'll automatically join, of course, when we get back to the beginning. And then you can see here we're just seeing 2 lines for the wall. So at this point I'm going to go ahead and bump up the detail level to fine. So now I can see my concrete pattern. And then I'm going to put on thin lines here. This is a toggle up at the quick access toolbar. And this way I can see my metal stud layer and my gypboard layer. This will become important later on. There. Okay, so now moving on. Let's go ahead and add in the interior walls. So we're going to use the basic wall interior partition wall type. So let's go to wall once again. And this should already be preloaded. So we'll go down to, or up rather, I'm sorry, down. And we're looking for the interior wall. And we're using 5.5 partition 1 hour. The 1 hour just means the fire resistive level. And then we'll set the height of the walls to the ceiling. And then we'll set the top offset to 2 feet. So this way the tops of the walls will be at 2 feet above the ceiling for a total of 12 feet. And then we'll just add these walls in this general location here. I'll add a wall here, here, there, and then we'll add another wall here. So once again, I'm going to use dimensioning to control the location here. So on page 8 here, it has the dimensions for the walls. So now what I'll do is I'll add in a new chain of dimensions. I could modify this one, but I need the overall anyway. So let's go ahead and pull out the grids a little bit. The dimension line goes with it, and then we'll add in new dimensions. So I'll start on the grid, and then I'll hit center line of the wall, There we go. And center line of the wall. All right. And then finally the grid. And we'll place these dimensions right about here. And we'll place another row of dimensions. This time we're going to use wall faces rather than wall center lines. So I'll pick the face of this wall and then this wall. And then this will be center, so I can switch as I'm adding the walls. And then we'll go ahead and stop with this row here. And we'll add in our last row. So we'll go back to wall faces. And then wall center lines again. And then back to wall faces again. There we are. Good. Now you may notice these walls have a double layer of gypboard on one side. In fact, let's take a look at the structure here just so you can see what's going on. So we have a double layer of gypboard on this side and a single layer on this side. So the whole reason behind this 1 hour wall is to protect one area from another. Now since this is really just one big area, we're not going to really worry too much about which side the gypsum board is, but if you had an area on one side that had a higher incidence of fire or likelihood of fire, then you would put the double layer on that side, and then vice versa. So let's go ahead and set up these dimensions now. So once again, I need to click on the wall first to adjust the dimensions. So I'll work my way from the this side. So this will become 30 foot 2 1/2. This will become 24 2 1/2. So that leaves us with a 16.3. Let's pull these out a little bit, and then we'll move this one down 14 feet 3 1/4. And then finally this one, not finally, I have a couple more to go. This will become 8 foot 8. You can see the dimensions don't move with the walls, so we have to move those. And then this will become 26 8. There. And that leaves us with 2 9. Then I'll just pull this text out so I can read it a little bit easier. So now we've located these interior walls. We still have to do the restroom walls. But one thing I forgot to do earlier, so I'll do it now, is set up the alignment lock for the exterior walls. So what the alignment lock does is it sets it up so that if we redimension the grid, the walls will move with it. See, right now, if I click on this grid, and let's say I reduce this down to let's say 68 feet. You'll see that the grid moves but not the wall. We want the wall to move with the grid. So now I'm going to go to Modify, Alignment. It doesn't really matter which one you click first because you're going to lock them both together. So I'm going to pick Wall Faces here, or there we are. Then I'll click here and hit the padlock. So now if I move this grid, so I'll pick on grid A, I'll modify this to 68, you'll see that the wall moves with it. So make sure before you move forward that you go around and lock all the exterior grids. If you were following the steps like I didn't, you would have done this already, but I'm going to go ahead and do it now. So I'm just clicking twice wherever there's a grid and a wall intersection. There. Pretty quick process. Okay, so now all of my grids have locks. And if you want to see which walls are locked, just click on the wall and you'll see a padlock pop up. So that's how you would unlock the constraint. Okay, let's move forward. So we'll do the restroom walls next. So we'll use Architecture, Wall, and then we're going to change this to Basic Wall Interior, and we'll use 4 7/8 inch partition, And then we'll zoom in on this area, and we'll go ahead and add in our walls. Once again, I'm not too concerned about their initial location. I just want to get them located so that I can run some dimensions and then accurately place them, or locate them, I guess. There. Okay. So now let's go ahead and go back to the Annotate tab, Aligned, and then we'll hit Wall Faces here. So this will locate the overall size. Then we'll do Interiors for the wet wall. And finally, the distance out from the south wall. So this will be 11.7. This will become 19.2. And the reason for the weird dimensioning is because I've already designed this in advance. There's going to be fixtures in here, of course, because it's a restroom. So this is what the final dimension wound up being after we put in all the fixtures. So this will become 9 feet. And then this will become 1'6". And that gives us a remaining dimension of 8 foot, 8 inch, 13/16. In fact, I'll move this out here. Later on we'll adjust the scale so these numbers aren't as big as they are here, but for right now we'll just leave it the way it is. Great. Alright. So now we're going to do the doors and windows. So I've given you a door and window schedule that shows you the sizes. So let's go ahead and fit the view. So at this point it's not a bad idea to save as you go, even though you're going to save at the end of this. So I'm just going to do a quick save here. And then I'm ready to add in the doors. So we'll start with we'll start with the upper left corner of the building. Okay, so we'll add in some windows first and doors. Actually, we'll do the windows first. So we'll start with window number 4. So we're going to use a 4 by 3 foot fixed window. So I'll go to my window tool. So it's already set. So we need a width of 4 feet. Oh, actually, it's not here. We have to create this one. So let's go ahead and click on Edit Type. So we'll start with the 36 by 48, but you can see here the height is 4, width is 3. We need to make a reversed version of this. So I'm going to duplicate this, and I'll call this one 48 by 36. And we'll get rid of that number 2. That doesn't change the size, it just changes the name of the type, so we still have to go in and do this. So this will be 3 foot, and this will be 4 foot. Don't worry about the default sill height. We'll set the height later when we add the window. So I'm going to hit the OK button. So now I have my 48 by 36 type fixed. So I'm just going to add in the 4 windows according to the picture. So I'm going to go ahead and click here, here, and here. And that ought to do it for those windows. The other windows are a different type. And then you can refer to the portfolio for this, but I'm going to go ahead and add in a 3rd row of dimensioning here. This way I can still locate the wall locations, and then I'll do my 3rd row where it shows everything. So I'll go to Annotate, Aligned, and I'll go ahead and hit these first 3. There. Then I'll come back later and add more dimensioning. There. So now, of course, just like before, to move these windows to the correct location, I click on the window first, and then I'll type in the correct distance. (9.2). In these videos, while I'm doing this, I can talk to you about this. I'm doing the whole thing. So if you think that this is a little bit boring to watch me add windows in, that's okay. You can fast forward, but I'm doing the entire project throughout all these video tutorials. So it depends on what your taste is. If you think, oh, I've got the windows nailed, you can skip through all this stuff, but you're welcome to watch the whole thing. Also, you'll notice, and I guess I have to fix this in the book, this dimension's a little bit different than the one in the book. The one in the book is at 4'4". So actually, why don't we do this? Let's go ahead and add in a dimension here from the outside face to the center. And that's why. See how this is different than the one in the book? It's 29'5". I'm on page 9, by the way, of the book. So I'm going to go ahead and change this now to match up what the project is. And guess what? I typed in the wrong value. Let's try that one more time. 29 this time. 5. Okay, so now that gives me the 4'4". I have redundant dimensions here, so I'll probably end up getting rid of this chain here in a little bit. Let's go ahead and add in window 3 now. So window 3 is a 4x6 foot window. We don't have that window type either, so we'll need to add that in. See, so we'll do a 48x72. So let's do an edit type, duplicate 72 this time, and then the height will change to 72 inches, and it'll convert that to feet for us. So it says 6 feet. And then we'll go ahead and add in window 3 here, or a window 3 there, and another one here, here, and here. And then we'll put another one over in this area, which we'll locate here in a moment. Good. So now let's go ahead and edit this dimension line to include these dimensions. So I'm just using the edit witness lines. And then I'll set this one to 6'6". You can see here, this is a pretty fast process if you are working from a good sketch. But if you don't have a sketch, or you're designing as you go, like most designs happen, then you're going to wind up going a lot slower. But this is more about getting the project done rather than designing something from scratch. And then for the this location, we'll use edit witness lines also to break up this dimension, and then we'll set that one to 11. There we are. And then we'll add on to this dimension chain. And we'll set that to 410. Okay. While we're here, let's go ahead and add some doors. So we'll have a door B and a door C. So let's check and see what those sizes are. So for door B, we're using a 36x80 fixed door, or solid door. So I'm going to hit door here, single flush, and we're using 36x80. So this is door B that we're adding. So door B goes here. And we're not going to worry about dimensioning this. I'm just going to make the hinge about a wall thickness. And then door C is going to be 36x84. So we go back to door, set this to 36x84, and then we'll add the door for this opening. You have to kind of move the mouse around until it swings the right way. You can also hit the space bar to swing vertically, change that distance as well. There we are. And then we'll need to locate this door. So I'm going to pull this dimension out to give me some more room. and then we'll add in a new chain of dimensions. So we're going from the exterior face to center, and we'll pull that out about here, and then we'll click on the door and move it to 4, 6. You can see I'm ignoring my temporary dimensions that pop up. Oop, I didn't ignore it that time though. Let me try that one more time. There we go. 4, 6. Great. Okay. Let's see. I think we're pretty much there. I don't need this extra dimension anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and take that out. So you add dimensions with the edit witness lines. You can also take them away just by clicking where the dimension is located and then just clicking in open space. So this handles this part of the room. So continuing on, so let's go ahead and zoom in on the top right corner of the floor plan, and we're going to add in an additional window. So I'm just going to use this window as a starting point. This is window 3, the fixed 48 by 72, and then I'll just copy this. So you don't necessarily have to add in windows from scratch. You can go ahead and copy the element from another part of the drawing. And then we'll add in door C. So door C is 36 by 84. So we're set with the 36 by 84 size door. So now we'll click over here in this area, and according to our drawing in the lab manual, or in the book rather, it should swing in this direction. So that should do it for windows and doors on the north wall. So now what I'll do is continue my dimensioning. I'll use edit witness lines and then click on the window and door center, and then the end of the wall, and I also need to show this wall center there. And then I'll adjust the locations. So this should be 16 feet from the other window, and this door should be 3'9" from the interior wall. And that should leave us with 12/6, which it does. Great. Okay, now we'll worry about the corner windows here. That's another window type, window 2 according to the tag. So we'll use 3 by 6 foot, so it's fixed, 36 by 72. So we're going back to the window tool. Let's first see if we have a 36 by 72. We do. So we'll go ahead and just add in the windows here and here. And then I'll add in a couple of dimensions to locate. So we'll go back to annotate, and then aligned. Then I'll click the outside face and the center of the window both times. There. And then all we need to do is click on each window to locate it. So that'll be 3'2" for both of these. There. Okay. Let's move down the east wall. So we have 4 windows here to put in. So we'll go back to architecture window again, and then I'll look up and see what size window 1 is. It's 3 by 4 feet, 36 by 48. So we should have that. Yes, we do. And then I'll just add in our windows. Once again, I'm not worried about spacing. I'm just going to click for the 4 windows. There we are. And then we'll go ahead and keep our 41'4" dimension. So I'll drag this grid out a bit. So we'll have room for another row of dimensioning. So we'll go to annotate, and then use align once again. And then we'll just hit the centers of each one of these windows. Then I'm going to add more in later, but for now I'm going to stop here, and then I can locate their size, or adjust their size, I suppose. So this first one here is 4'10". Then we have 7'3", 7'3" once again, And finally, the last one is also 7-3. Great. Okay. Then we'll add in our two B-size doors here. So we'll go to our door tool again. B size should be 36 by 80. We only have 3 different door types on this project. And then we'll just place them at the corner of the restrooms, or what will be the restrooms, there and over here, and then we'll use the space bar to change the swing to the other direction. And then we'll do locations for these later. There's another drawing coming up, another part of the tutorial where we do the detail view of the restroom. So we'll just leave them like this for right now. Okay. Oh, actually it's on the next page. I should remember my own tutorial, huh? Okay, so let's go to Annotate, Aligned, and then we'll go ahead and use this dimension as our starting point, and then we'll add in the 2 door-centered dimensions. And then I just need to click on the door and modify the location to 2.6. Great. And that's leaving us with a slightly different dimension, it looks like. Oh, you know what I think I did wrong here? Let's go ahead and fix this, I guess. This this door wall, has to be moved over to be 9 foot 2 and 13/16. So this is a good time to talk about locking dimensions. So if I move this wall over to the left, it's going to go past this wall. So if we apply a constraint to the 9 foot dimension and also to the 1 foot 6 dimension, if I click here, and everything else is unlocked by the way, actually just to keep the doors from moving, let's go ahead and lock those dimensions as well. Just the door. I want this one to move. And then all I need to do is click here and then click on this dimension and type in the new one at 9 foot 2 and 13/16. See? So now the whole thing shifted without changing any of these dimensions. So this is 9 foot 2 and 13/16, and then this also needs to change now to 1 foot 8. So now I will unlock this dimension. I'm leaving the 9 foot dimension locked. So you can see here I've got the 9 foot locked. I don't want that to change. So now I will click on this wall and type in 1.8. There. Now everything checks out and matches up with the tutorial. So this does it for CL1-2. So not much of a part 2. I guess we'll just probably combine this with the original lecture. We're trying to keep the lecture part or the demo part below 30 minutes. I think that's about all anybody can stand of a person droning on about how to do a building in Revit. So anyway, but we're trying to keep this as interesting and as fun as possible in keeping with the tone of the book. So we will see you next time for CL1-3.